A while ago, I went to the Bugaboos and I wanted to do a video on coffee sustainability and environmental impacts. Unfortunately, though, a lot of the footage looks like this. And that. And one more time. So I lost a lot of audio on a lot of the footage. So instead, I figure whatever I got of the valuable nature that we have, I figured I'll just throw it in here and talk over when I need to.
So, coffee is part of this huge cycle of environmental impact and impacted by the environment. There's slow progress, at least, in kind of solutions to environmental impacts and such. But it's slow, and there definitely could be more done, but that's like a whole other topic because it can get pretty dicey when you dig deep into the not so sexy side of coffee.
What I mean by that is in the industry, there is a lot of resources used to process, to grow, to ship coffee. I'm more looking at what can be controlled, and especially from a consumer side, and these are baby steps for sure. Which is not an intentional short joke.
I don't know if I'm getting any audio on this. I'm just walking along, enjoying the view, and then I look up. What the heck is that? What the heck?
Anyway, starting with energy and how you make coffee at home. Typically, you can use either electric or hand brew method at home. Something like a drip machine would use a lot more electricity, whereas hand brews or lever machines would use a lot less. The only one you can't really get around is using a kettle, but that uses a much lower amount of energy compared to most coffee making methods. As for buying coffee, you can now bring your own container to the majority of cafes in Calgary, which is really awesome to see waste reduction on the rise. We've been using bulk bins for a while to store our beans, and it makes for packaging to stay as the last resort, cutting back on waste. And here's a stream under some boulders. As for cups, a huge amount of them are thrown away every day, with a small amount being recycled or composted. Even so, the inside of most coffee cups are pretty difficult to separate and end up in the landfill anyway. A good option is to be wary of a cafe's effort in compostable cups, as the wrong bin kind of defeats the purpose. But an even better option would be reusable cups. All cafes will put coffee in almost anything you give them, and some will even do it at a discounted price. When it comes to travel mugs, though, it's best to find ones that will be used enough times to offset production or are sustainable to begin with. A great example of this being Husky Cups, which uses coffee husks, aka coffee waste, to be repurposed into cups, and then also part of a swap program. When the cup kind of starts deteriorating, you can bring it in, swap it out, and it's recycled again. Single-serve coffee is convenient, but produces more waste than traditional methods, with plastic, aluminum, or a combo of both in each. Ideally, each would be thoroughly cleaned after use and then recycled properly, but it's not super realistic, so there's always compostable pods. Also, here's me thinking I'm going to bottom up my car real quick. On to coffee filters, which can be bleached with chlorine or oxygen. Oxygen is definitely more friendly, but it's still a chemical process. So options for this are unbleached or reusable filters, and there's been some really neat metal ones that have been released, but I'll have to look into the production methods first. And then there are some pour-over devices with a built-in catch so that you don't actually need a filter. Coffee grounds are compostable, reusable, or can be picked up by organizations and local community gardens. That one's a pretty easy one. At the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to get to know your coffee. Like, how's it sourced? Is it Rainforest Alliance approved? Is it certified? Is it fair trade or direct trade? It's good to be aware of the differences in various philosophies, and coffee now has such like a educational hand in things for it to be out in the open, and that's super cool. Environmental impact is pretty important to us as we spend a lot of our time in it, and it's a huge part of who we are as Devil's Head. But it can be just as overwhelming kind of diving into it, especially when it comes to coffee. But it's good to be aware of the domino effect and the little changes that can go a long way. Thank you for watching and dealing with the voiceover. I suppose it's dinner time.